I'm going to show you how to use Brisk to make Google Forms and multiple choice quizzes within about 1 minute. So the first thing you need to do is load a document, and you also need to have downloaded Brisk, and then you'll see this Brisk icon bottom right. Now I want to make a resource which tests on the area of the circle. So I don't want it about anything to do with slides 1 to 4, so I'm going to delete this. Then I'm going to press the Brisk button, and one thing I really like is pressing the create button and clicking the quiz. Now you can choose between 1 to 20 questions. Sometimes 20 questions is a little bit too much, so let's go for 12 questions. You're going to have to put the American grade in, and you can choose multiple choice, short response or long response. And then you can put a little bit more detail about it here. So you could write something really specific and it will make your quiz to do with this. And you are going to press next, Brisk it. It's creating the quiz. So there's 2 things I'd note about the quiz which you might want to change. First of all the questions are compulsory. So I would recommend you go through and turn off the required button, especially for the later questions, because if you're getting the whole class to do this, perhaps the whole class is not going to get to finish it. Secondly, I would check the correct answer, because often the correct answer is number 1. So you would probably like to move around some of the answers so it's not as frequently question number 1, but this is a really good starting point. I've done this several times. And the best thing about this is you can then get the results. So I'm going to find the results of one I did yesterday, I believe, which was to do with circumference of the circle. And I can click view in sheets and I can copy all their responses and all the questions. This clearly works well for a subject where you've got just right and wrong. It probably doesn't work as well for another type of subject. We're then going to go on to ChatGPT. I am going to paste this and I'm going to say, what did the class do well on and what do they need to improve on? It reads all my responses, even if it's in this format which looks unreadable. And then it shows that they understood what pi was, understood the formula, but they need to work on the following: confusing terms of circumference and radius, etc. So based on what they need to improve, I can then ask ChatGPT to create a task for me. So based on the improvements required, create a fill in the missing blank activity where you are writing sentences that students have to fill in missing words. That's a good activity I could start with. The next lesson, another thing you could do is you could copy and paste this into a Google Doc. And once we've copied it into a Google Doc, we can then make another Brisk resource from this. So I'm going to show you 2 more. So one Brisk resource you can make is a presentation. Now, often the content on these presentations aren't brilliant if your prompt to begin with isn't brilliant. So before I do that, I am going to improve the quality of what I've written here by using Magic School. One thing I particularly like is academic content. It also does PowerPoint slides, but it cannot add images currently. So I'm going to put the content type. I'm going to put 1 page, and I'm going to put look above NA. They're in year 8. Press generate. As you can see it typing, it's not typing the font properly, but after a few moments it should reload and you should be able to see it properly. That doesn't actually matter too much because we're just using this to copy it to a Google Doc to then Brisk it. So then we press Brisk, we press presentation. Let's say I want this to be 10 slides. And also say, write a presentation about this, but also include subtle references to living in the Costa del Sol. Now this prompt might be a bit crazy, but let's see if it works. We're going to press Brisk and see what it comes up with. So it's now creating a PowerPoint presentation for me, and it's called Understanding Circles Through the Costa del Sol, and it's got some images for me, some of which could be relevant, some of which might not be, but this is really good at generating and being a starting point for some of those trickier to create topics, which this topic isn't really. And it's actually put some random images from the Costa del Sol in there. Last but not least, I'd like to show you how you can create something called a spiral review. So I'm going to press this and I'm going to press create. And once I press create, I'm going to press maths spiral review. Now this is very much like the Google form, but it's going to be in a worksheet format. I'm going to put it to 20 questions. What I like about this is it starts off with easier questions and should get harder. So I'm going to then generate this, and it's generating the worksheet below here. You can see it hasn't displayed the text properly yet. I have to re-edit this, which is definitions of radius, diameter, etc. Or you could perhaps delete it if you don't think it's necessary to have it on the worksheet. We've got a multiple choice quiz and we've got worded problems. Lots of different tools are great at creating questions, but not so great at finding answers. So with this, I would probably go back to ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, especially the paid version, is great for numerical answers. I'd paste this in and I'd say, write all the answers to this, don't show working. I'm doing this so it's easier to copy and paste, but obviously you could put show working as well. So here we go, we've got all the answers to the questions 1 through to 20. We could go back to this form, double check there are indeed 20 questions. You could put the answers there at the bottom. And obviously you could delete what we created from Magic School earlier and just focus on the worksheet. And checking back in on the presentation, this has now got 10 slides. It's got some beach pictures. It's got some random circle pictures. So it's really nice because not many AI presentation tools do pictures, but this one does. Obviously, this one looks like very science-based, so perhaps you'd want to delete that and put in another kind of image. And you could obviously change things as and when you need to see fit. Also, you could click boost it, and you can also iterate what it's produced and improve it a little bit as well.